Bienvenidos, Lara, ¿cómo estás?
Hello, how are you, Mark? Very well, thank you.
I
Muy
am
bien,
muy bien.
gracias.
Hablas mejor que yo, seguro. I
No,
am,
tú hablas súper bien.
no, gracias. I'm so thrilled to have you here. I always love people that bring international perspective and international flair and culture to the table. So this will be fun. How about if we start, if you can briefly introduce yourself. This is not the business part, but where you're from, where you're living, family, maybe something you've never told anybody that you want to tell people now. Who knows?
Mhm.
Like that. And, stuff like that. So let's do it.
Super. So I am Brazilian, but I am very strange kind of Brazilian because my mother is Japanese, my father is Brazilian, but with background of Portuguese, Spanish, and all of the mixes, like a real Brazilian. I am living now in Orlando, but this is my seventh country. Um, in my business life, I changed through 7 different countries. And I think that what is interesting that probably just because you asked now, I am thinking about, I think that my life is very peculiar because although I had a very good plan in my life, I wanted to marry, have family, good professional life and everything went differently, not how I wanted, but the way that I needed. And because of my choices of just believing in the work that I was doing, that it was a kind of mission for me, I loved what I was doing. It took me to different places. And by the end, even having a divorce, my transfer took me to Mexico, for example, where I met my husband. And he was an ex-boyfriend from many years ago in Brazil. By coincidence, we were there. And also because of the transfers after I went to Venezuela and I got my family. We adopted 3 siblings in Venezuela. So because of the work, we were in Venezuela. And then there we met the love of our lives. So probably I think that this is a little different. And because by the end, Mark, I really believe that my life, I got everything that I needed. And I believed that if you are doing the right thing with the right intentions, the right motivations, whatever is for you that is very good will be there. If you try to avoid something, you will avoid something, but will not get what you want. So I think that this is something that I can share from me, not the Lara only professional, but whole Lara.
No, that's beautiful. It's things happen for a reason, and those three siblings were probably just waiting for you to get there, right? I would think.
Yes.
So congratulations, that's awesome. I know one of my partners, believe it or not, has 11 kids, and one of them is adopted from Ecuador. They actually found him in a thing in the garbage thing there, and adopted him. And my cousin in Toronto adopted a young girl at that time from Mexico. So it's a beautiful thing to do, and congratulations on having the family. Congratulations on all that stuff. That's super cool, and that's what a leader who cares actually does, is stuff like that. So way to go. What were you like as a kid or a teenager? Were you playing nurse or doctor when you were a kid? Were you like playing video games? Did you play music? Were you a good kid, or did you create a lot of mischief? What were you like?
Well, I think I was a very dedicated kid. I thought that I was not an easy kid because I was not easy for my mother and my father. I questioned a lot of things. I wanted to do things in my way. I was not an easy kid. I studied a lot. I loved to study. And also our childhood was much more with the family. I was a Girl Scout. We used to travel with Girl Scouts. I had many friends in the place that we lived, and we had these friends that we used to do everything together. But it was a very good community, and we care for each other. And I didn't see myself as a leader at that time, but later on, I met a teacher of mine that he was telling, Lara, I always knew that you were going to be a leader. And I tell you a story that you understand why. And then he came to me and told, okay, there was one time that I had to go through a surgery, and I could not be at school, and a substitute would come to take care of your class. And we overheard you talking in the dressing room that you didn't like this new teacher because it was a betrayal to me, and that you decided that you will not like him because you care too much about me. And then we were discussing about it, and we decided that we had to convince you that you had to welcome him so I would be able to come back with the same class. So he told, you were so influential in your people, in your friends, and you didn't know, but just because it was something from the heart that you believed, and then you just did it. But if you would be convinced otherwise, you would do it. So I think that I was a kid with lots of personality. I used to do skate. I used to surf. I used to do many different things, and I loved a little later. I loved like rafting. So I met my husband at the rafting competition. I was a swimmer. So I had all of these different ways of growing up with nature, sports, and also this kind of impulse to do things. I was always in the move wanting to do something.
I love it. I love it. Influential, and you weren't going to betray the teacher, and had to work all that out. That's awesome. That may be the best answer I've had like ever for that question. So way to go. Tell us about the early part of your journey. You started with you were at FGV in Brazil, business administration. First of all, what intrigued you to be in that, and then find yourself in the pharma industry after that?
This is a very, very funny story, because my mother and my father, they are medical doctors. And when I finished high school in Brazil, you have to apply to an exam to enter to the university. And I wanted to do med school. And for 2 years, I was applying to it, but my father had the expectation that I would have the same college that he had, and it's the highest school, and it's it's big competition and everything, and I wanted to be a neurologist. But as I was applying to everything, one semester before the exam, I applied to FGV in the middle of the year just to test if I would enter or not, and how are my scores. And I entered in a very high position. And then I didn't even make any reservation or whatever. I wanted med school. But when I had to apply by the end of the year, it was together the same examination for both. And I wanted to do this GV together with the med school. So if I would not enter med school, I would go here. But then it was the first time that they was together. So when I applied, I decided to apply just for FGV, business administration. And my father didn't know. And when I entered, he was like, you didn't enter med school. No, I entered FGV. This is what I want to do. And then I started to do this. And my father was, I think, he never told, but I think he was disappointed. But by the end of the 4 years, when I had to apply for a trainee program for us to close the course, there are so many different things to apply. But then it was Johnson & Johnson to be a med rep. And I loved so much. And in the interview, I knew all of the medicines. I knew everything because my parents were medical doctors. And then they wanted, we want you with us. And I entered there, and I never left pharma, because it was like kind of doing the med school from the other side.
No, that's fascinating. And when your father found out that you registered in the other one, what did he say? Or did he ever know?
But first he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that you apply for that." So he tried not to look disappointed, but as it is a very good school also, he was very proud because it's a good school.
Oh,
So he
that's
told, "Oh, whatever is better for you, I think that you have still chance to change to med school if you want later." And I said, "Okay." But by the end, I was so in love with pharma industry that it never happened.
well, the good news
And he's
is,
very happy.
yeah, I would say the good news is it was pharma. It wasn't like cars or something like that. So at least it was close to the medical practice, which is good. So you're in the pharma sector, a lot of major leadership roles that you had since you developed your leadership, for the school with the teacher and the whole bit. And like you said, multiple global cities. What were your experiences in that industry? Because the industry obviously has discovered amazing things over the years, different medications, all sorts of stuff that really has helped people, but it also has had its share of criticism and a lot too. So what were your experiences about that?
Yeah, this is a very good question because there was a period I was in Bayer and I had been transferred in 1999. I was transferred to Portugal and after to Germany. And I was in Germany. I was living there when there was all of this bicol complication.
Mm-hmm.
And that time, Bayer had a very, very difficult situation. And I remember exactly the day that it was, I don't remember which was the city here, that it was this, there was a lawsuit going on, and it was the first and very important. And I remember that it was so bad press, and I was not proud about being there, not because I didn't like the company or whatever, but it was like difficult to tell that you were working in Bayer. And that day, everybody was awake until very late at night to know the result of this law court. And then it was, we won because they were able to show that we had communicated properly to the doctors in a very ethical way. So by winning this specific instance, all of the rest was kind of put on hold, and Bayer came back to be like appreciated. But still at that time, the most interesting conversation was that I was having with my father, because I wanted him to be proud of me, and I was not so proud. And I was telling him, maybe I have to change industry. I don't know, go to look for something else, because I am proud of working in Bayer. But every time that we go to some place, I kind of have to hide, or I don't know what people will tell or criticize. We are seen even worse than cigarette, tobacco industry. And then he told something very interesting, Mark. And my father is somebody that always tells the right thing in the right moment. He told, Lara, I want you to observe something. I'm a doctor. And maybe if you repeat this, I will tell that it's not true. But we doctors, we cannot do anything if we cannot treat the diseases that we diagnose. So if we diagnose a disease, we need the pharma industry to be seen as a god. We can only treat the diagnosed patients if we have a very good medicine. And you chose an amazing company. So be proud of Bayer and do the right things. Act as you act, very ethically, with the high standards of moral that you have already, and be very proud of working in a pharmaceutical industry. And if you have to change from Bayer, beware to choose another one that has the same standards of morality and ethical. And that moment, it changed it completely. And it doesn't matter what happened, I was proud. And I told I will just leave pharmaceutical industry if there is something that I cannot be proud of, then I will leave. Otherwise, I will defend with my heart.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. You can only be authentic and have the values. That's the best you can do all the time. And so yeah, it's brilliant advice. Now that they bought Monsanto, they have other stuff going on over there now too that they have to worry about. But yeah, your father, seems to me he's more than a medical doctor. Sounds like he's got the psychology worked out pretty good too. So I wanted to ask you, we founded our firm, Fifth Element Group, on the basis, kind of what you're talking about, that leaders and their businesses can do way better when they are doing good. It's not like one or the other type of thing, and a lot of young people for sure look for that type of opportunity where they can make money and do good at the same time. So you became a chief people officer at Roche in
Purpose.
chief purpose officer. Sorry, what did I say? Chief
People.
people. Oh yeah, chief purpose officer. You dealt with a lot of people that hopefully had purpose at Roche. But the fall of 2017. Now that was kind of like a pretty distinct change, at least in title. I'm sure there was purpose before, but in title it was a big change. Number one, how did it happen? And were there both positives and negative experiences that made that happen or made you want to be in that position where you would take on the role with real purpose?
Indeed, I arrived in Roche India as the CEO of Roche India. So I was hired as CEO of Roche India, so the general manager of there. And when I was there, we went through a complete transformation of the operating model and business model, which led us to focus on value, change the way that we were doing things, and we changed. For example, the business plans were not called business plans anymore. It was life-saving plans. We had empowered our sales force and they became like value specialists. The commercial team, it was the value team. And we were working with stakeholders. And our objective was to help to improve the healthcare in India. So more people would have access in healthcare. So we could sell our products for this increased access that was created to the healthcare. So we had a completely different way of working, and people changed their positions, names. And the last one was me. I was still a general manager there, CEO. And then it was like the question, so how should you be called? Because after everything that we did, you are not a chief executive officer, you are not a general manager anymore, because we are managing the business. We are finding the best way to deliver the value that we are supposed to. And you are here backing us up. So what is the name that this position should have? So they offered three different names: Chief Transformation Officer, Chief Purpose Officer, and I don't remember what was the third suggestion. And we put for vote. And then the whole organization was voting. And people told Chief Transformation Officer should be each one of us because we are transforming everything. The question is towards what we should transform. And what your role should be, that each time that there is a conflict, each time there is a doubt, each time there is a crisis, each time that there is a new strategy, everything that we do and our decision-making process should be based on our purpose, that we are here for the patients. So you should be our Chief Purpose Officer because you remind us why we are here the whole time and we cannot forget. So you should be Chief Purpose Officer. And it was what I was doing. I was going to the meetings and asking, do you think that what we are doing here together will serve the purpose to serve patients? And I was always questioning them and coming them back to the purpose. And then it was the change was a kind of flowing of the work that we were already doing. And then I became Chief Purpose Officer. And from what I understand, it was the first CEO that was called Chief Purpose Officer. They had Chief Purpose Officer in probably the human resources areas or other areas, but not as a leader position. And I think that nothing better than caring for people in having you being called, having this position of purpose, because there is no way of caring more for people than through helping everybody to live their purpose. Correct, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And we found when we trademarked the term "leaders who care," we found that leaders were finally realizing that if they didn't have a bigger purpose and they didn't listen to what the individual's purpose was, and hopefully they aligned, then they wouldn't be able to attract the best people. Because the best people, kind of like I said before, they still want to make money, but that's not the whole ball game. Without purpose, you almost have no soul. Not to get too philosophical, but it's a job. And really good people don't just want a job. They want to feel like they're doing something. I mean, you spend so much time at work, you should be doing something that makes a difference. So makes total sense. And so I think everybody, including you, made the right decision there. Good title, good person, perfect match. Share with us a little bit your purpose during your sabbatical in India. I mean, it was seemingly to engage in purpose, transformation, value, etc. What were your thoughts when you did that? And when just a few months later, the pandemic came on top of that?
Indeed, the sabbatical that I had, Mark, was a period between jobs. So when I was in India, we had a change in the leadership, and the new person that came had very different ideas on how to lead the business. So we had by the end an agreement that I would leave, and he would then bring the strategy that he wanted. And in this, I took this sabbatical because I wanted to be 100% sure what I wanted to do. Because I had my best experience when I was there in India, and I saw that we can do things differently. And something that I wanted to be 100% sure is that we can do business for good, we can have results, and we can have people engage in a completely different level. And because of this engagement, the stakeholders and everybody around, they work with you to get what you want, because it's for something more. So at that time, I was already doing some speeches, I was doing some mentoring, and I had a mentor that was asking me, don't you think that you should, instead of just working in one company and bringing this thought, this way of leading to one company, don't you think that it's time for you to help others to do this, to encourage others and show that this can be done? And I didn't know, because I thought, okay, I love what I do. I love to be CEO. I love to guide people. I love to see the change of people, transformation in years. So what I should do? And it was very funny, because in this interim, we were choosing which country we wanted to live. And there were many countries that we were thinking on going. And then we came to US for the spring break. So we would just see schools and visit some place. And we got stuck here.
You're stuck there?
Because the India border, yes, the India border closed. And India border opened again only in August, and it was March, because we were here the 8th of March.
Wow.
So then, by being here, we decided to be here. We bought a house here. We put the kids in the school. And I saw so big movement in the COVID of good and bad leadership.
Yeah.
COVID brought the best and the worst out of people. So who had a very good heart? The companies that were really caring for their people, they were taking care of their people first. So the commitment with the people was so big that they were able to strive through the challenges. The others, who were much more fixated on keeping the revenue or whatever and didn't care for their people, they had a very big problem. Seeing this, I understood that my new mission in life would be to make people understand that the way of leading is through people, for people. And I had so many things in my head because I was training my leadership team on different leadership styles. I was reading many different things about quantum leadership and Bhagavad Gita and spiritual things that I understood that for you to be a good leader, you have to be an excellent human being and care and respect people. And I had a training that I had in my mind. I had a model in my mind that is to transform human natural beings to conscious human beings, coherent people with 4 pillars. And I had this. So I decided, and my husband was pushing me and telling, you are not going back to another company. You are not, we are here to support you. You will put this in a book. You will build you're founding a company that you will bring what you want to the world. And this is how Work Coherence was founded, because I have this mission to bring coherence to work, to life of people, but work meaning my life. And my job is a tool for me to be able to live my purpose and do my work in life. So job being a part of my work as a human being. So the work coherence is how you bring coherence to your life through guiding yourself by your purpose. So you can have coherence in your life and be the same human being wherever you are, if you know your purpose and you know why you are here for. Then you can have coherence, the same as a company. So then it came the Work Coherence. So it's a long answer for the
No, it's a great answer. No, it's a great answer, and it kind of ties in with the question I wanted to ask. The fourth industrial revolution is mostly about technology, AI, especially now, virtual reality, etc. And they say that the fifth one is really about humanity, and humanity has to be the one that works with the fourth one. But those are tools. Humanity is the real thing. When we engage with clients, we look to represent them as leaders who care. But what we found is that when there's real harmony between impact and talent, that's when things happen. Very much what you're talking about. The best talent wants to make an impact, etc. So it's interesting because your background has been around systems and knowledge and transformation, technology, but also working with people around the world, different cultures. And it tends to be that most people want the same thing wherever they are in the world, as we know. And so your mission with Work Coherence makes a lot of sense because you are bringing impact or purpose together with talent. And I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what you see as the potential, or what you've seen as the potential in humans to make an impact when they really can be their authentic self, not just be at a job.
This is something that I lived with, and each time that I had to change countries and lead a new team, I could not lead them, Mark, because I didn't know the language, I didn't know the market. Many times I was much younger than they are. So what I had to do is to help them to see, and I was always telling them, I am here. The first thing that I want is for you to wake up in the morning and be super happy that you are doing what you are doing. For this, let us try to show me what you were doing and why this is beautiful. And then we were working a lot without calling it, in each individual finding their purpose through the work. And I saw that when I did this, in all the places that I was, you could see people flourishing, and an exponential potential was completely unleashed when, I think it's 2 things. One, you believe in them, and you believe in them, helping them have their purpose. So if human beings are believed and they know their purpose, oh, Mark, they don't need bosses.
Right.
They just need an aligned intention, and they will group up together with the same purposes or complementary skills, so they can help this big outcome that they are seeing. So that's why I really believe also, Mark, that for the fifth revolution, if there is this transformation of consciousness, where business and economies, the leaders in business and economy, they understand that by believing in people, providing them with the environment where they can live their purpose, all of the solutions that we need in AI, in all of the technologies that are coming, they will be for the benefit of the needs that are emerging for the human beings and the solutions that we have to have for problems that we created. So we can make business in the future in a way that they are really, really benefiting and fulfilling needs that are emerging, and not creating needs and using unnecessary resources for it. If we are really, if not, when we all are conscious and we are really, really leaders that care, we will have a transformation in our business, because it will evolve towards what humanity needs. So it will provide a sustainable financial result, and you will make people so happy and committed to you that it will be very easy to lead.
And I'm glad you used the word.
Believe in this, Mark.
I believe you, and I believe that too. And you use the keyword there, sustainability. What we've found is people go home with the spouses or partners. When they go home, and generally two things can happen: is they have a spouse or a partner, but if they have kids, is they come home and they say, "Man, I'm exhausted. Work really sucked. I just need a beer and sit on the sofa, whatever." And the kids hear that, or they come home and they say, "You can't imagine what we did today at work. You guys, let's have dinner and talk about it." And we're getting involved in this big project for hunger that we're going to be involved in that too. This is amazing. And the kids hear that. So you want to talk about sustainability? I mean, you have a choice, positive or negative, and how the kids are going to feel to continue what you're talking about, which is super exciting. And it's not even that complicated at the end of the day. So I want to ask you a couple more
Mark,
things.
And can I just make a comment on
Please.
this here? Because I think that if you are a good parent, you have an obligation, a responsibility to love your job and make the best out of it. Because this is what will influence your kids. If you
100%.
want to have healthy and successful kids, you have to love what you do and see always the very friendly universe that you are living in. So 100%. Just make this comment.
No, thank you for saying that. It's so true, and it's so important, because that's the next leaders coming up that will do what they do. Couple more quick questions. We were launched about 5 years ago on International Women's Day. And so when we engage with clients, diversity is a key thing, whether we're doing an executive search or a project or initiative. Describe a little bit your journey as a woman in business, in pharma, how you navigated that, as a woman, and especially in different countries. I remember one time I was doing searches for RJR Nabisco back then to work in Latin America. And they said, probably shouldn't get us women because, the way if it's in Latin America, they won't treat them right. They won't be able to do it and whatnot. So we placed 4 women in the positions in Latin America, and they did fantastic. But there was different era, different times, whatnot. So how was your journey as a woman in business?
Well, indeed, I was the first woman to be executive president of Bayer in Latin America when I was in Venezuela. And I have to tell that maybe because of my background, of my Japanese background, I was looking everything, Mark, and I didn't see difficulties. I was seeing challenges that I had to face, and I had just to do things because it was important for the purpose of what I decided to do. So, for example, when I was sent to Portugal, I was in Portugal and I was doing lots of work with the team there. I was supposed to be 1 year and I was 2 years. And then when I went to Global Bayer in Germany, I was supposed to be 5 years there. And then after 1.5 years, my boss called me and told, can you go as a general manager for Hungary? I was 31 years old and I was a woman, and I was a Latin woman in a German company. And many years ago, I received an advice of a very big executive in Brazil when I decided to go to Bayer. He told, don't join Bayer. Bayer is a German company. You are a woman, young, Latin, you will not have chance. I think that the point was that I believed so much in what I was doing that I didn't see some obstacles or things that happen as something against me because I was a woman. I always thought that, oh, I just have to be better, no? But at the same time, to be very fair with women, it is difficult because how many times I arrived in a place with my sales director or my finance manager, and then I arrived in the place and they talk to them as being the CEO and not with me. I think that the secret there is that I had compassion, and I always thought, oh, this person should be feeling so bad that he or she did it. And I was not taking it personal. And I was telling, oh, I am the one that is president, but he deserves, or, I was just joking. And then it was going, but it was not easy.
Sure.
Because I had to have this kind of attitude and spirit and always be positive. And maybe because I was always positive, I was not seeing a hostile circumstance. I was seeing, okay, this is a chance for them to see why it's important to have a woman here. So I always had this kind of responsibility that I am the first woman in many places. I have to make it comfortable for them to have a woman here. And I have to make it worth for them to have a colleague as a woman. So I always wanted to be as easy as possible, so other women could come.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with women, with minorities, etc. And whether you like it or not, you kind of are representing others as well, other women, other Black people, other Latins, whatever. And it's a responsibility, and it's not easy, but in some contexts, it's also a privilege to do it too and be a leader like that. So it's very, very cool.
And my mother used to tell, because my mother had this philosophy, so she was telling, don't say no to war, say yes to peace. She was telling, don't fight against something that you do not agree. Live by what you believe. So you believe that a woman is worth there. You think that a woman is doing a good job, just do smile and show it. Live what you believe. Don't fight against what you don't like. So this was something so important.
Man, you had some brilliant parents, I'll tell you that. Good job. And it sounds like you've done what we talked about. It went down to the kids and the family, and that's how you get sustainability. There you go, right there. Last question on this. I always joke around. I live in Los Angeles, and we say, as long as we leave them wanting more, then we'll be able to do a sequel. So kind of like a movie sequel. So we might have to do a sequel of this to do more discussion. But the last few years have been interesting, to say the least. And I remember a client told me in 2021, he said, Mark, the year 2020, it was the year that flew by slowly. And I thought it was an interesting comment, how it flew by slowly, but it kind of felt that way. And the last 3 years have been weird. Can you tell us what you're most grateful for, keeping that in mind, and also what you're most hopeful for in the future?
Oh, Mark, I think that 2020 showed the world how our planet is so alive and so much more beautiful if we just take the flow of our lives and enjoy it. Even if it was very dramatic, lots of things to regret and to fight against, I think at the same time, the way that everything is slowed down showed how we can be together with nature and with our own human nature. And I think that maybe this comeback is like people wanting to come back, but they want to keep what they discover there. And I think that this is what I am most grateful for, and is my hope, because whoever has an awakening of consciousness cannot unsee it, cannot sleep. And I think there was an awakening of consciousness in 2020 that we are seeing many business, leadership, and consequences that if we take this together with all the technology that is coming, and we use the technology to allow us to keep this space, I think we will see beautiful things the next 5 years. I truly believe. The consciousness awakening, technology, and we trying to make this fit with the planets that we live.
I'm just going to leave it there. That's a beautiful way to conclude this part. Beautiful, like you. Thank you so much for being a leader who cares, and for all your accomplishments still to come.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. And congratulations for your show.
Thanks.